And then let me pin this up to the top. First one, July 25th. All right, there we go. So let me pin this up to the top and then we'll get started. So today we're literally going to be talking about traffic, the final piece that is all about how to literally now officially launch your funnel. We'll be talking about traffic. So if you're joining us, if you're on Facebook side, remember you can still come on to the Zoom side. The link is right above the video, and also on the first comment you could definitely come in. The very first comment, you could definitely join us. The link is there, so if you would like to join us via Zoom. I'm still monitoring both platforms, Facebook and and Zoom, so you're more than welcome to definitely use any one of those platforms. Just complete setting this up and we will be on our way. At thought this was supposed to tag everyone. We are live. All right. So let's see, we have a couple of people here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Cliff. Welcome, Cliff. Evie, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We have Jose. We have Caitlin is here. And we have Mackenzie. So welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for
All
asking.
right.
This is Cliff.
Hey, Cliff, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. Where's everyone joining us from?
Me, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, fantastic.
Indiana.
Indiana, welcome, welcome.
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so before we get started, does anyone have any questions, like quick questions we can address before we officially dive into this? About the previous 4 days. I know it's been a roller coaster. We've been covering a lot of information, and now we're finally at the end of Russell's training. Even though it's at the end of Russell's training, we still have some bonus material next week that that we're going to be sharing in the group, right? So even though it's the end of Russell's training, it's still not the end of the actual challenge. There's an extra whole bonus week where we'll be giving you some extra information that will be really beneficial when it comes to actually launching your first funnel. So let's see, will there be live training on Saturday and Sunday? So it won't be live, we won't have any live training. We'll have some training streaming. I believe there is some training streaming in on Saturday, tomorrow. So look out for that. And then from next week, we'll have some more training. We'll be streaming into the group. But no, this is officially the final live training that we have, Caitlin.
And really quickly, Lee, as far as I have several different companies, so I'm a little behind, but I'm catching up with everything today. And
right?
just as a note, all the trainings, everything that's in the private Facebook group that we're involved in, that will always be there. We'll be able to go back and look at those, correct?
100%, yeah.
Awesome.
So when that at the end of next week, what will happen is we'll archive the group, meaning we'll just freeze it in time, right? No new activity is going to be happening within the group, and the great thing is that it'll just be frozen in time. So everything that's within the group, you'll still have access to all the training, all the guides, all the one pages, all the consultation sessions. If you wanted to go back and watch them again, you have indefinite access to those. All
Awesome.
right. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and dive. And this is the part, like, traffic is usually the part that a lot of people usually find to be the big elephant in the room, right? Because this is the part that people feel like, oh, where do I find people? How do I get these people to come to my funnel? How do I get them to actually, become leads? Give me their names and emails, right? So I can start building that relationship. And the key thing is, before you even dive into traffic, the most pivotal question is, who do you want to bring into your funnel, right? What we've covered earlier on. And then the second most pivotal thing is that, do you have something that is relevant to them, something that they care for, right? And if you understand traffic is really a game of conversations. That's all it is, right? It's having conversation with the right people, the right conversation, of course, with the right people at the right time, right? So everything we're doing when it comes to traffic is that we're trying to figure out, hey, do we have the right message? Are we talking to the right people? And more important, is it the right time? Right? So if you nail those three things, if you understand those three things, right, then you definitely understand traffic, right? Plenty of times I think people look for these hacks, or, do this, do this. And those work. They may give you a little boost and give you some attention, but then in the long run, it stops working again, right? So we're not covering the hacks, right? We're going to be covering the fundamentals, so that even if, like, things change later on or in the future, or Facebook is always changing, right? These fundamentals will continue to work, right? So that's what we're going to cover. We're going to be talking about, hey, what are some of the things that you can do, right, that will help you actually start connecting with your audience, so that you can start having those conversations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fantastic. So when it comes to traffic, right, there's three Facebook, and we're only going to be focusing on Facebook. And not to say that it's the only platform that you can get traffic, right? There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's all these other platforms, right? But the reason we're focusing on Facebook is that out of all those other platforms, Facebook has the largest database, which means that a lot of your audience, independent of what market you're going after, you're going to have a representative on Facebook, right? So that's the first thing. And then Facebook is still pretty good for testing your messaging, right? If you want to test your messaging, you want to test your creatives, you can literally test and really hone in, because even though you believe that you already know your audience, right? How they respond to your messaging, that's a learning phase, right? Because you could completely understand what challenges they have, and what solutions they're looking for. But when it comes to actually communicating with them, right, slight changes, changes could make a huge difference, right? And the only way you'll know what changes to make is by literally testing, right? So in the beginning, we're literally going to be doing some testing. We're going to be putting out some messages, and then seeing the response. Now, most of the traffic people that I know that are really good at this, usually it's a continuous process, right? It's not one thing that you set and forget, and then completely just have people rushing to give you their name and email. That pretty much doesn't work, right? You'll notice even Russell, he's still putting out messages, and he's been doing this for a long, long time. Right? And the reason is because you're always going to be in beta. And what I mean by beta is that you're always testing the response. You're always putting out messages, testing the response, going back, looking at your data, seeing how did this perform? Can I improve it? Can I change the messaging? Right? And then rinsing and repeating. Right? But within Facebook, there's literally three major profiles that we're going to focus on, right? Now, how you post on these profiles, right? On these profiles, you have a whole you have a whole bunch of tools that you can use. You can use videos, you can use stories, you can use reels. Reels is pretty huge right now, right? And reels is just like less than a minute, usually typically less than a minute long video where you're really just sharing a nugget and you have a quick call to action, right? They've really picked up. I'm seeing Facebook is really bullish, meaning they're really trying to promote reels right now, right? So reels, you have images, you have carousel images, so you have a whole bunch of tools at your disposal. But literally, we're going to be focusing on these three platforms where you can use those tools to actually connect with your dream customers, right? So the personal profile, that's literally by default. Everyone has a personal profile. If you're on Facebook, that's the first thing you'll need to create, right? And then, of course, there's the groups, and then there's the business page, right? And each one of these serves a very specific objective. A lot of people I've seen not knowing the difference between, like, you know, is it good to post on, what is the objective of posting on a personal profile versus groups versus business page, and they kind of interchangeably just go ahead and post randomly on these three platforms within Facebook. It's three entities within Facebook, and they don't get the results as expected, right? So the first thing is, when you're going to start with your personal profile, is that you want to make sure you set up your profile correctly, right? Who do you want to attract, you know? And of course, your personal profile, remember, you have your family and friends, and then you also have a couple of people who will come to your personal profile just to check you out, right? So the first thing is, hey, make sure you at least hint at what you do, what problem you solve, right? The more descriptive you could be, the better. Think of it like, hey, you know, if someone was to come in and quickly just glance at your profile, will they know? Will they be magnetized? Like, if they're the right person, will they be magnetized by the profile? Will they know exactly what you stand for, what you stand against, what problem you solve, right? So set up your profile, and the best way to set up your profile is not to set up your profile, it's to go see who already has a great profile, and then you model, right? Most people go in and they'll try and set up your profile and get creative and put together words, but you know, like, don't get creative. You know, someone's already done the heavy lifting. Go see who has a great profile and who could you model. Like, you probably know a couple of people who are in your market, right? Who have your customers, right? Who communicate to your customers. So go check out their profile and see, what did they say? You know, what is their banner like? What links do they have under the description, right? And then just model that, right? So don't recreate the wheel, especially if you want to get and tap into momentum. The fastest way to tap into momentum at this stage is not to get creative, but to model what's already working. Does that make sense? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Angie's here. Welcome, Angie. We have Anthony. Welcome, Anthony. Cliff was here, I believe. NK, welcome. Wade Records is here too. Welcome. Yeah. So don't get creative. I see people like getting creative. They want to go in and oh, I love this image, right? You love the image, but is the image for you? Like, are you creating this profile so you can look at it, or are you creating this profile so that you can attract the right people? So that's a great question to ask, right? So after you've created your profile, right? The next step is to start your sifting questions. And Rachel literally gives you these three sifting questions. And what are we doing with these three sifting questions, right? What we're really doing is we're starting to have a conversation, right? That's the first thing. We're starting to have a conversation. But before we start to have a conversation, like, if imagine you probably know like of a relative or a friend who the only time they reach out to you is when they want something, right? And you feel kind of icky, right? Because, hey, you know, if the only time they reach out is when they want something, that's incongruent. Like, you know, like every time the phone number flashes on your phone, you're like, I wonder what they want this time. So you don't want to be that person, right? And unfortunately, I see a lot of people doing this, right? They'll just go out and say, hey, I have this lead magnet, right? And that's literally like that friend or uncle who only reaches out to you when they really need something from you. They never call in to say, how are you doing? They never check out to see, hey, what are you working on? Nothing. They just say, hey, come get my lead magnet, right? And you don't want to be that person. So to avoid being that person and to avoid being awkward, right? And having awkward conversation, you hedge that by starting with these 3 sifting questions, right? No problem, Anthony. We just started, right? And it's being recorded, so you could definitely watch the replay. But the first very important question is a filter post. And the filter post, I call it a filter post, is to make sure you get the right people to raise their hands, right? And remember, within your personal profile, there's going to be all different mixes of people. There's going to be your family. There's going to be your friends, right? There's going to be people, associates, people you've interacted with. There's going to be followers who just found you and started following you, right? So there's all these different types of people. So the good thing, and Facebook just started this, right? It started a couple of years ago. They didn't have it when they first started, when they first had Facebook, right? When Facebook first came out. But now they have something that's called custom lists. So if you go to your friends, right? If you go to your friends, just click on friends. You can go down to custom lists, and now you can create little buckets, right? You can create buckets where you can drop people so that when you get to actually post, right? When it's time for you to post, you don't post to everybody. You decide who do you, so I even post to myself sometimes to write like mental notes, right? But literally you can come in and select who do you want to see your posts. And the beauty about Facebook is that it'll only show the people who you want to see the post. And everyone else won't even know that you posted, right? So the first thing, before we even start going into having these conversations of, hey, URA or whatever, starting with the filter post, create these buckets, right? So that you can put these buckets, you can put the right people into these buckets. Does that make sense? Cliff, you have a question? Hey, Cliff. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you got
Yeah, I'm sorry. In today's I'm in and out because I'm doing some other things, so I might have missed when you talk about the personal profile. Is it okay to add something up there? Like, I'm gonna have something up there that says something long, like you know the I don't know, like a challenge, you know, or just something up there to let people know instead of just is it okay to have something like that up there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely want to give them some context, right? Context of what you do. You know, your family members will probably wonder, hey, what is this? You know, if they're probably not in your market or they don't. But yeah, typically you want to have to hint. You don't want to go too promotionally, right?
Yeah.
You just want to give a hint at what you do, what problem you solve. Because remember, the personal profile, like when people land on this page, right? It's your friends, it's your family, it's, you know, everyone. Literally, you can't have restrictions on your personal profile. So I would probably not go too too marketish, right? I would probably just talk about what problem I solve, and then start putting people into different lists, right? Segmented lists, so that now you can you can customize your messages. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, so you create these custom lists, and this is a fantastic feature because, hey, you know, how many times like you start seeing messages, you know, from some of your friends and they're not making sense to you, and you start seeing those messages, and then all of a sudden you feel like, you know, I think we don't have anything in common because they're not targeting the right people, right? So with this custom lists, right, you can definitely put people into different buckets so that you can get the right message to the right person, right? And then after that, after you've created these buckets, I call them buckets, or you can call them custom lists. Now you can start with the posting, right? And the posting is so that people can self-identify, right? Hey, I know you are a marketer when, you know, and then just put a blank, right? And the reason we're putting out this post is not only just to have a conversation, right? To get people commenting, but more important is also to start seeing people self-identify, right? Self-identify. Some people say, hey, I'm a marketer. Yeah, absolutely. So this person probably needs to be on this bucket, right? So it's also to segment so that you can know, okay, these are my hyper people, these are my people, right? And then you put them in the list, right? So the first one is a filter post. There's literally just 3 posts. The second one, and you can do them in 3 days, or you can give a break in between. But literally, it's just rinse and repeat. You know, you are that's a filter post, a marketer when. I constantly find myself answering a phone saying, "How may I help you?" or whatever. So get the engagement. Facebook is bullish, meaning really excited about engagement, right? Because what does Facebook want at the end of the day? What Facebook really wants is they want attention on Facebook for as long as possible. And if you can help Facebook with that goal, guess how they reward you? They show your posts to more people, right? So the more engagement you get, the better. It's a key performance indicator of how well you're performing on social media, is literally how much engagement are you getting to your posts, right? The second one is what we call a welcome, a lean in kind of post, right? Now it's to really get them to now open up and really start have a conversation with you. What are you trying to solve? What are you working on right now? Who's got a win to share? So it's really a welcome. Let's get a little bit deeper. Let's start having a conversation. Think of it like you meet someone at a coffee shop. The first thing is, hey, what do you do in your line of work, right? And they tell you, I'm a marketer. Oh, fantastic, I'm a marketer too. Then the next logical thing is, okay, tell me, what are you working on right now, right? So it's building upon day one, and it's really to get them to start leaning in, to go deep into the conversation, right? And then the third part is now, because you've put some foundation, right? Now it's not awkward to go to day 3 and say, hey, I've created this thing. You mentioned yesterday, if you're working on this thing, I noticed some of the challenges that I had was X, Y, and Z. So I took the liberty to actually put together this document, this whatever your lead magnet is, this 3-minute video, or this 1-pager, or this napkin. It doesn't really matter, right? I put together this. What matters is how is it helping them, right? And that's the third post. Does that make sense? And the key thing about doing this is so that it's not awkward, right? Because a lot of times, can you imagine, like, you didn't even do the first 2 and immediately started saying, hey, come get my lead magnet, right? That's so out of sync, right? It's out of sequence, and most people probably like, why? There's no context. But by doing this, it's building upon and adding context. So any questions as far as the personal profile? And like I said, don't try and create the personal profile, right? Like, go and see who already has a stellar personal profile, who's already getting a lot of engagement, and start deconstructing and looking at, what is their banner image looking like, right? What are the links? What type of posts are they putting out, right? Are they long posts? Are they image posts? Are they videos? What are they really doing on this profile, right? And then once you deconstruct, right, now you understand the elements of what makes a great post in your market, and then you can just model that. Any questions on personal profile? Any questions?
So I understand day 1, which is where you put out those, what do you call them again for day 1?
The sifting or filtering posts. Yeah.
Right, sifting posts. And then day 2 is, I don't understand how day 2 is different. Is day 2 more of the same?
No, day 2 is now diving into going deeper, right? So the sifting question is to get them to raise their hands, right? Day 2 is to go deeper into the conversation, getting them to give you context, like, what are you working on? What are you struggling with? How did you have you ever experienced this problem in your market, and how did you fix it? It's literally getting people to open up, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, right. So this is just in 3 days, I should be able to. I guess I'd just be taking one question out of each of these.
Right, one question out of each of these. But she gives you a couple so that you can get the context of how to model this. Like, what is the core objective? She gives you those are more like examples.
Got it. And this is something to do in groups as well as on my personal page.
Yeah, groups are going to be a little bit different, right?
Okay.
And the reason why is because groups, it's already people who've shown interest. Otherwise, they wouldn't have joined the group, right? So it's more filtered. So you probably wouldn't do this in a group. You would get really deep into it, because within a group, like, the only reason someone would come to this group is they self-identified with the core objective. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the personal profile? Welcome, Colin. How are you today? Any questions on the personal profile? Let me see on the Facebook side. If you're on Facebook again, feel free. You can definitely join us on Zoom.
And I'm understanding that I can create a friend list and move people to add people to that friend list who've expressed interest.
Absolutely. And the core reason for that is because because one of the most important things in marketing is really getting the right message to the right person. But if, like, your friends list is all jumbled up, meaning you have your family, you have associates, you have even the guy who fix your tires, he's your
Right.
friend. You see what I mean? Like, everyone is and you're probably in consulting. When you're putting out your messages, it's not resonating because there's a whole myriad of different different people within your friends list, right? So having these segmented custom lists, they're called custom lists, helps you to actually craft your messages so that you can actually choose who do you want to see your messages.
I see. I don't do a lot of posting on Facebook. That's why I'm asking. So
Yeah, no problem. No,
so I could actually create a post, and when posting it, Facebook is going to ask me what friend group should see this post.
Absolutely. So all you do is in the drop down menu.
Yes.
And so there's even one for only me. I use only me mostly when I'm writing mental notes that I want to go back to. Or I want to see how the post looks before I change who I'm going to show it to, right? So I use only me. But you can come in and select which list you want to see. I have family, I have friends, I have business, my business guys, acquaintances. So yeah, you can create as many lists. You can name them something that will remind you of why, who is in the list, and then you can select who do you want to see your messages.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, cool. So let's see. Everyone is good? Okay to continue?
I've got one more question.
Mm-hmm.
This is somewhat off topic. The one funnel challenge.
Mm-hmm.
On the video, Russell kept saying it starts Monday, but I have a web page that says it starts 2 Mondays from now. I just want clarity on when it begins.
Yeah. I'll be talking about that.
Okay.
I'll be talking about that before the end of today's
Thank you.
session.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So Angie says yes. Okay, fantastic. So the next step, I would say, is after you've created your personal profile, it's optimized, and you've put people into the right buckets. Next step is start focusing on your business page, right? I wouldn't go to groups first, and I'll give you a reason. We'll go to business page, and the reason we want to use business page is because most business page works pretty much like your business card, right? People go to your business page, they'll find you on your business page, find what you do, right? What problem you solve. And there you can now go deeper into context, right? And you can go all promotional on a business page. Now with the personal profile, you have to be extremely careful, right? Going all promotional, because if Facebook, I noticed they've created a new profile. It's called a professional profile, right? If I think if you have a certain number of people, you'll get access to this what's called a professional profile, which allows you to actually go all promotional on your personal profile. But if you have a regular personal profile, I wouldn't go all promotional, and the reason is because Facebook wants you to use the right platform for the right activity, right? And business page is where they want you to actually do more of your promotion so that you can keep your personal profile personal, right? But as long as you actually create those custom lists, you won't have a problem, right? You won't have a problem because what Facebook wants is they want user experience. They want their users to get a great experience. And one way to make sure that their users are getting a great experience is by creating messages that are relevant to the right person at the right time. So if you're using custom lists, you have nothing to worry about because you'll be crafting messages talking directly to the people who are in that custom list, right? Now, before a personal profile, if you started going all promotional and you went all promotional, Facebook would probably, give you a warning, and then eventually they would probably, and it's happened to a couple of people, they would just shut you down, meaning they would shut down your personal profile. So be very careful as far as like heavy promotion on your personal profile, because Facebook wants you to use your business page. And then the other thing too with personal profile is that you cap out at 5,000, right? So if you have 5,000 friends, that's the limit, that's the cap. Now with the professional profile that they just started, you can definitely have followers, right? But it's still relatively new. I don't know too much about the professional profile, what you can and cannot do. It mimics the business page. It looks almost the same, right? But I would definitely, just until we get more word and more direction from Facebook, I would just follow what's been working, which is use the personal profile to segment and get people, put them, start creating those custom lists, and then start getting people to your business page where you could do a whole lot more promotion, right? So so with the business page, this is where you can literally now go deeper, right? You can go deeper. Yeah, Jennifer, don't post any links as far as affiliate links, please. That violates the terms of this group. Yeah. So with the business page, you could definitely go deeper, right? And the reason Facebook wants you to go to the business page is because there's no cap. The other pro of going to the business page is that you can get what is called reports. You can get deeper reports as far as engagement, as far as impressions, meaning which of your posts are performing really well. So you get all those reports, right, with the business page. Literally, they give you all the data, right, so that you can go back and improve. So I would highly recommend you start utilizing more of the business page than your personal profile. Personal profile is just kind of, hey, someone came and Googled you, and they saw your name, right, and they came to your personal profile and they started the journey. But then you also want to start pushing them to the business page. Business page is where now you start connecting with them, right? Now, here's where people drop the ball when it comes to business page, right? They will just randomly go in, right, and they'll go to these 4 boxes and say create, and then they'll go to create page, and in one shot, one sitting, they'll put a page information, they'll give the page a name, pick 3 random categories, put in a description, and then create the page. That's the wrong way to go about it, right? And wrong not as in like function, right? But wrong as in strategy. It's not strategic, right? So the first thing I would do if you are going to create a business page is to go to Uber Suggest. Remember, we're trying to maximize visibility, right? And the way we maximize visibility, we start with the pain point. Like who's already, we start with the keywords, right? If you just randomly call your page, cookie cakes, and no one's actually looking for cookie cakes or whatever, right? What is the probability that you'll be discovered, right? So people usually, the biggest mistake that I see, people name, they feel, oh, that's such a cool name, so let me just give my page that name. That resonates with me. I feel good. I love that name. It's such a cute name. But you love it. How about the people who are supposed to find you? Right? How are they going to find you? Is it something that's top on their mind? Right? So this is where, like, you absolutely have to forget and suspend what you love and start looking for, what are my customers or potential clients or potential leads actually looking for, right? So you go to a tool like ubersuggest.io, right? And ubersuggest.io, and then type in your keywords. So let's say you are someone who's in keto diets, right? Go search and see, hey, is this keyword even getting traffic? Like, how many searches is it getting? Because Uber suggests, like, uses Google, right? And if it's getting traction on Google, more than likely it's also getting traction on Facebook. So if there's a search volume, right? There's a search volume and a substantial search volume on Uber Suggest. That tells you that, hey, maybe you should use this keyword in your page name so that you are discoverable, so that you can start trickling, you can get some trickles of that traffic just by selecting the right name. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
quick question, really quick, Lee. So totally understand that. I think my question would be, if our program or what have you is already based on a name that we've established, do you
Right.
believe that it's better regarding like our specific lead magnet or what have you to create like a secondary page, and then in the about we just say like powered by Daring Few is the name of my program?
Right.
What's the suggestion there, just as a note? And then they can always be put in the other private group, but for the sake of context.
Yeah, I think the first thing is start with where they are, right? Because at this point, like, branding is not as important as serving. Like, the minute you tap into their desires, right? They've come in and now you've solved the problem that they have. Now the branding aspect will come in, right? So I would rather, before I even move and lead with the brand, I would lead with the desire of the market. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, because like, and this is like what I was saying, like, if no one is going into Google search and typing in your brand, that means it still hasn't gotten enough traction whereby you can 100% like just go forward and lead with the brand. Now it'll get there, if you continuously keep on keep on the effort, of connecting with your clients where they are. Eventually it'll definitely start getting traction whereby now word of mouth is going to have picked up, and now you don't even need to start with the desire of the market. You're already an entity. You're like a huge brand. It's just like someone was asking, hey, Tony Robbins uses his own name, why can't I use my own name? But what you don't understand is that Tony Robbins, if you go and put in Tony Robbins is a keyword. He's a keyword. He's been doing this for over 20 years. Just the word Tony Robbins, yes, it is his name, but contextually, he's a keyword. He's getting just as many searches as the word keto. 165,000. So he's a keyword, right? So you're not at Tony's level. So in the beginning, you want to start with the desire of the market, build up, get the traction, and then eventually, once you become a brand, now you can just completely stop. I wouldn't say stop, but now you can start leveraging your brand name because now it already has traction. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. Welcome, Jennifer and Michelle and Renata. Yeah, so in the beginning, you want to start getting strategic, and what you want to do is, start with, hey, what's top of your mind? If your dream customer is actually going to Google, what keyword are they putting into Google, right? And then tap in, is that keyword even getting searches? Use ubersuggest.io. It's completely 100% free, right? Start looking at variations of this keyword, right? There are different variations that are probably getting more searches or not as competitive, right? And then once you start there, now the next step I would do is, so let's say, hey, we came in, we saw keto diet is only getting 165,000. What if we put in keto diet, right? Is keto diet, and I know it gives me 3 searches. I think it caps out at 3 searches, right? And you can always go to incognito, or you can create an account where it'll give you more searches. But nevertheless, you found a premium. Yeah, so keto diet will probably give you more, right? More. I think I've done this before, and keto diet actually gives you, I think, almost 500,000. Right? So literally go in and do a little bit of searching. If you don't know what keywords, right, to use, go to your competitors, right? Go to your competitors and look at what keywords are they using. And then the next step too, what you want to do is come to Facebook, right, and put in keto diet, right? Or put in your keyword and see, hey, who already has created pages, because we're looking at the page section, who already has created pages that have a huge following, right? And then those are the people you want to do what? You want to model, right? Now, as you can see, keto diet is probably not a great name. Why? Because look at all these pages called keto diet. Now, your dream customer is probably wondering, okay, which of these pages should I follow? There's all of them called keto diet, right? Keto diet, keto diet, keto diet, all of them the same. So they're probably wondering, why should I go for this page over that page, right? There's no distinction. There's no differentiation, right? But check this out. This person is a little bit smart, right? Keto diet recipes for beginners. So he understands that keto diet is getting searches, but what did he do? He took it a notch higher, right? He said keto diet recipes for beginners. He added a little bit of context, right? Because for the dream customer who's coming and scrolling, right, and doesn't know, okay, there's another person, the keto diet for beginners, right? For the person who doesn't know which keto diet page to follow, because there's like 15 of them, giving a little bit of context or niching down helps. Low carb keto diet, 268,000 likes, right? And then the next thing I would do is look at the description, right? Expert advice tips, like, give context. I've seen where people will just give a name, and you could tell this page was hurriedly put together. They didn't put a little bit of thinking into it, right? Because, hey, like health and wellness, right? Health and beauty, like it doesn't give context, especially when you have all these pages called keto diet. If I'm looking for something related with keto diet, there's no way I'm even wasting my time to click on any one of these pages. Why? Because they don't have any context. It's just keto diet. There's even no differentiation. Someone, put a space in, but I can't tell, like, what is the difference between this page and when it's like the burden of proof, the burden is now on me to do the heavy lifting. I'd rather go to the person who's more optimized, right? So put context, and don't just sit down and write the description, model the description, right? Who already has, look at this one, right? Easy keto, low carb recipes. Great description. This page is for sharing keto and low carb recipes. There's context to it, right? And that's how you literally build out your page. Any questions? Any questions? Is this making sense? Like, is this making sense as far as why you don't just want to sit down and give a page a random name that you like and a random description, right? But you want to literally start putting some strategy to it, right? See who's already, first of all, start with the keyword, right? What are you going to name your page? Is your keyword even getting traction? Going in, looking at other pages, looking at their description, and then now you have great context to actually go in and create a page that's optimized for organic searches.
And
Does that make sense?
This is for the name of the business page.
Correct. Name of the business page and the description, because all those things make a difference. If you have a great name, That's step one, right? A great name that people are actually searching for, right? That's step one. A great description, that's step two. Because what happens is that, remember, Facebook is also a what? It's a search engine. People do go in and put in terms here and search. So it's also, besides being a social platform, it also is doubling up as a search engine. So if you have a great description, a great name, the likelihood of discoverability is way higher than if you just picked a random name.
Got it. And then as far as I think you've already answered this, but as far as the name of the business itself, that you'd have, I guess, in the description of the page.
Yeah, you could have in the description, or or later on. Like, it's not as important the name of the business. What they care about is the pain point. Because remember, you're talking to a cold market, right? You're talking to people who have a pain point. And at this point, they don't really care so much about the name of the business, other than, hey, are you solving a problem that they have?
Yes.
Yeah. And there'll be plenty of opportunities later on to start differentiation and talking about like your business and your mission. But in the beginning, serve them, like talk about, hey, what's your pain point? Are you trying to do this? You're trying to do this. And then once you serve them, now that's an easy way for them to have more interest about, hey, tell me more about your business.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, and then, of course, the next step is to start publishing. But a lot of people usually just come up with posts, right? They'll just randomly come up with posts, and then they wonder, how come my posts are not getting any traction? I've been posting like 6 years. There's no traction. And the reason is because it's not necessarily that you're posting consistently. The challenge is that the relevancy, right? So rather than just going in and getting creative again, go to the pages that already have the traction, right? And see which posts are actually getting the most engagement, right? Because the posts that are probably getting the most engagement are the ones that are addressing pain points that your dream customer has. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing that I would do, I would go to a page. There's this website called Answer the Public. There's a couple of them. Answer the Public is one of them. The Answer the Public is great. Just go in to Answer the Public. Make sure you select the right country, right? The country your customers are. And then again, just type in keto diet, right? And then hit search, right? And then from there, now you can look at, hey, what questions are my customers asking, or potential customers, or people who are interested in keto diet. And it'll give you a whole myriad of these questions. And if you just take one question and answer, create a post, whether it's a video post or an image post, or you will have relevant content for days, and you'll be discoverable because you're creating content that is relevant, right? Rather than just getting creative and just putting out content. How about getting creative and putting out content that is relevant? And the way you get to the relevancy is by looking at what questions are people already asking, and how can I go ahead and answer those questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How did you navigate to that page?
It's called Answer the Public. I'll give you the links. I'll put the links. Okay. Yeah, but answerthepublic.com. Yeah. So, and it gives, can you imagine if you just took one of these questions and you start answering them, right? You start answering them, putting out great posts, you will have content for days, right? And now your page is going to be discoverable because you're putting out great content, right? Great content. Even though there's a lot of content out already, there's still like a huge void as far as valuable content. So a lot of people are just putting out content, but not too many of the, not a lot of content is valuable. In fact, if anything, it feels regurgitated. It feels like people are just copying. Oh, do this, like it's just going around. Like you go copy and copy and copy. But the person who takes the additional step and really does the research, come to Answer the Public, join groups and forums, and start seeing what conversation people are having. The other thing you can do, go to Amazon, right? Go to Amazon.com, right? put in whatever, it doesn't matter what product, right? Most people look at Amazon as just Amazon as just a shopping platform, but it's also a discovery platform. Go to Amazon, right? Instead of sort by featured, change to average customer review. And then at this point, we don't even care for the product. We just want to go ahead and look at what are people talking about, the sentiments, right? What are people angry about and what are people happy about? I usually start with the angry ones because the angry ones, that's where emotion, it's very, like someone who logs into Amazon, first of all, they purchase a product, independent of what product it is, go consume the product, read it or whatever it is, then take the time to log into Amazon and put in a review, right? A negative review. That person is not being driven by logic, right? It's not logic. Like logic won't make you take all those steps. That has to be emotion. Anger, dissatisfaction, right? That has to be emotion. So you want to tap into that emotion. And the more emotional your posts are, right? The more emotional your posts are, the better you're going to get traction with your audience, because you'll be hitting something that people are not articulating, right? And so you go in and you start reading the negative ones. Language translation is crazy, very short book, not a lot of recipes, right? And then you go back and read you read the 5-star. What was great about the book, right? So just read, like start looking at all these reviews, and very quickly you will understand. You'll be putting out way better posts. And in fact, just borrow the words from the angry posts, right? Borrow some of those and put it into your post, because you're not using your own words. You can never be this creative because you don't have that emotion, right? But guess who has? Someone who's frustrated, someone who is disgruntled about a purchase that they made. And then take some of that emotion, pump it into your post, and now you will be putting out really stellar posts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. This is awesome information. Thank you, Anthony. Jose, thank you for guiding. Thank you, Lee. This is Go. Fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, use Uber suggests definitely to check out keywords, and then use Answer the Public. You will have so much information, so many great questions to answer, and then of course, as far as sentiment, being able to articulate that sentiment, use Amazon. And just by doing that, you'll be a better storyteller. You'll be definitely a better your post will definitely be much better, because you understand the sentiments of your market. All right, so business page, that's where you bring people, that's where you put out posts. The other thing about business pages is if you are ever in the future going to run ads, you'll be using business page to run ads. So that's the reason why I highly recommend you start focusing on your business page. Now, the final piece is groups, right? So business page is great for, hey, getting traction and getting people to come into your page and building that rapport, right? But if now there's another platform within Facebook called groups, just like the one we have. And groups, the sole objective, remember, the personal profile sole objective is to filter and start the conversation, right? Business page is to go deeper, to take that conversation even further, right? And continue building the relationship. But groups is to really build the community, right? Groups is where you really build the community. So what Facebook noticed is that within the 2 billion database of profiles that they had on their platform, they noticed that there were clusters within those 2 billion people. They started noticing people congregating around certain clusters. And they weren't doing it so well in the business page because business page was still public, right? Business page was still public, which means that even though this person is on a business page, they're not engaging as heavily as they would be if they were in groups, right? Why? Because in groups, it's more of a it's more of a regulated entity, right? It meaning that it's, you know, you can be who you are, you can feel comfortable, and even though it's the same person, they would be sharing or getting more comfortable in a group than they would on a business page, because business page is public, right? It's public. But with groups, people are now congregating around a very specific goal, right? So they noticed that, what if we created a third piece whereby people can now congregate around whatever they fancy, right? Keto diet or whatever, and just start building that community where people can now interact and be really intimate within the group, right? And feel free without judgment, or, oh, you said this in this group, and it's because it's confined within the group, right? Only the group members would actually understand, and anyone an outsider wouldn't have access to that information. So for that reason, they created groups. And groups are really great at, if, let's say, hey, you notice that business pages are really giving out information, but they're not really building the rapport deeper as far as the intimacy. And sometimes intimacy and relationship, that's where a third entity was created called groups. So groups are best for, hey, building entities around. So let's say, because your business page may be specifics around keto diet, right? But let's say you wanted to now motivate people. A great place to motivate people to, hey, and start something like a challenge would be, hey, you know, I'm creating a challenge. So, and it's only 7 days. Either it's getting a goal within a certain time frame, or you're congregating around a very specific desire, right? So business pages may be a little bit broader, but then groups are actually really way more specific, and for a lot of times it's usually around a very specific time frame, right? And then people also tend to behave, like, even behavior is very different. I've seen people, you know, same person on a business page, really not interacting at all, but then in a group, completely different story. And I think psychologically, I think part of it is because, hey, in a group, you feel like this is an enclosed space, right? A safe space where you can literally be more vulnerable, right? Compared to a business page. Does that make sense? Cliff, you have a question?
Yes. So as far as groups is concerned, at what stage do you recommend starting a group? Meaning that, you know, when you have an X amount of followers, and as far as group is concerned, do you recommend doing a private or a public group where anyone can join in, or do you recommend doing a private group to start?
Yeah, I think it'll all depend with the journey. I think the first thing before you even decide like when to start, I think is just to map out the journey of your customer, right? So because either one of those can work, right? You can create a private one, you can create a public one, and groups you can create them at any time, right? Because the other thing is, hey, with business pages, you'll keep on publishing and people will be getting familiar with, and you'll be, you know, switching up posts, different posts. But at one point, you want to ascend those people. You want to take them to the next level, right? And that's where groups come in handy. So I think there's no, oh, it has to be after a certain time. You can create a group anytime. What's more important is, hey, what is the journey that you want to take your dream customer? Typically, most people is personal profile, then they go to the business page, and then from the business page, people go to the group. But it doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes you'll find people that will come to your groups without having even gone to your business page, right? But I think the key thing is, what is the purpose of the group? Like, what purpose does it serve to your dream customer? Business page, we know. So don't segment based on time, but segment based on purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What's the best way to get people to your groups? Because the thing is, if you start a group, right,
Right.
the thing with a group over business pages, there you can post, but with a group, you want to be more engaged, and you don't want to be engaged listen, there's nothing wrong, but you know, you don't want two people in your group, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You want to have some people in there so you can engage and be more engaging in your group. So that's how do you get people to your group?
Yeah, from the business page. The business page literally feeds your group most of the time, right? Some people run ads and then
So
get
you mean
people
so
to
you
the
mean
groups.
you'd put listen on your business page, hey, listen, come join my group. You're in this page. You want to learn
Right.
more, come join this group, or you know, something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, that's what people do. But like I said, it doesn't have to. Like the key thing about this is that it's not even about like it's more about like, hey, what is the objective of your group? I think that's the first thing to nail down, and then once you nail down what the objective is, how you get people to your group becomes much easier because you can create a page. I know, like Rachel, if you go to Rachel's page, let's go to Rachel. I think it's called Mula Marketer. There you go. If you go to her page, right? If you go to her page, you'll notice she has at the very top, visit the group. You see what I mean? And people come to the page. Some
Yeah.
people will just interact with the posts on the page. And then at some point, some people are like, okay, I want to see what this group is all about. And now people go to the group. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Let's see. I think who else had a question? I think Renata. I'd seen Renata raise her hand. I think she left. Okay, no problem. So yeah, so and with groups, you typically want to be, you don't want to be the one controlling the conversation, right? You want to be the one regulating the conversation. You're regulating and let people just be, right? And as a matter of fact, the groups you will have, like, the best thing you can do is just, you're literally the hardest job you're doing with the groups is assembling the group. That's it. As far as like content creation, you can create content, but then create content, maybe put in a post or do a live. You could even do like an ask me anything kind of post where you go live and people ask you questions, and then just let people just be free, right? Connect. They will direct you on what you need to do. They'll tell you. You start noticing within the group, have a place where people can have a discussion, right? People will talk, and you'll start noticing questions coming up, and then you can say, okay, I noticed these questions were coming up, so I'm going to do an ask me anything, and then just answer questions, and then let people talk. Like groups of like, you are just not there to more regulate, but to more actually you're there more to regulate than to be the force of like to steer. You're there to let people just be who they are, ask questions, congregate around a very specific goal. So Renata, you had a question? I think you had raised. Are you still here, Renata? Yeah, she's here. Okay, hey Renata.
Hi. No, it wasn't a question. It was just a comment when you were sharing the thing I liked before. There was a 3 with answer the public.
Answer the public,
Yeah, I was just going to comment because this is really, really gold. So I wanted to stress that because last week I was on another webinar with marketing strategies as well. And we were talking about the importance of asking questions to the client or to your audience on your Instagram or wherever you're working, because when you know what they are expecting to hear, and then you post something on that subject. So for example, I'm from the fitness niche, and I say, what are you having problems with? And then they're going to say, oh, I'd like more biceps workout, for example. And then on the next week, I start posting biceps workout for my audience. This is very triggering for them because if I have a launch coming up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start filling my feed with biceps workout and everything else they need. And then boom, this is my course that I'm selling, and I'm going to tell you everything about biceps workout. So of course I'm making it small, but this is very, very good stuff because from this sketch, I started creating research and things on my accounts, like research forms, and even using the tools that Instagram has and TikTok has to make questions. And it's very useful because it targets my own audience. But what it just showed me is like an escalation of what I was doing. It doesn't target my audience, but it's global. It means it's universal, what people out there want. And when they my channel, they're gonna have the answers there, and it's much it's larger than doing research. So I just wanted to stress how useful that tool is, because in other words, a shortcut of what I'm saying is this equals to or leads to conversion.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I remember, and actually this tool, it was started in the UK, and now it's owned by the same group Uber Suggests, right? Neil Patel. Neil Patel is the marketer who owns Uber Suggests and also owns Answer the Public. He buys his strategy. This is the guy. He buys these tools and then he uses these tools as lead gen, right? It's fantastic strategy. So yes, yeah.
I was going to ask if you could filter per country. I'm gonna have a look later, but you just said that it's from, because I am from the UK, so it would be better for me to filter for.
Yeah, you can filter by country.
Oh, amazing! Oh my
Yeah, you
God.
can
So
definitely, yeah. So you
Thank you
can
so much.
you can figure out, hey, what questions are people asking within your country, especially if you're targeting your dream customers within that country. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Yeah. So that's pretty much it as far as this one pager, right? Great description. Again, like I said, with your group, don't create your group, model your group, right? Which means that go out, figure out who's already got the group, who's already getting traction, join their group, see what posts they're putting out, and then reverse engineer, right? And that's pretty much it. Now you have a well-oiled machine, right? If you do these three, what we've covered here, and this is just for organic traffic. We haven't even put paid traffic. We'll definitely be going deeper into paid traffic in the One Funnel Away challenge. But for organic, this will definitely get the wheels turning, right? This will get you a couple of people coming in and having conversations with you, right? And then you tweak. And with this, like Rachel built an entire business just using organic traffic, right? And you can build a very comfortable business just by doing this on a consistent basis, right? Before you even start putting in paid advertising into the mix, right? But most people stop before you even go, whether you have the resources or you don't. I think the key thing is before you dive into paid advertising, because paid advertising can be an animal in itself. But hey, get the traction and then use paid advertising to amplify, right? The smart marketers use paid advertising to amplify, but they already have the signal. And what I mean by signal, I mean engagement. They understand what is my market engaging to the most. And now once you figure that out, you solve that equation, the next step becomes really easy, because now it's just amplification. You're using paid ads for amplification, right? Unless you have like a huge discretionary budget, right? And resources that you don't know what to do with, then you can absolutely just use paid advertising as a discovery tool, which will shorten the time. But if you don't have that kind of bandwidth, I would highly recommend just using this until you actually get the amplification, you get the engagement, figure out what posts are getting the engagement, what messages are getting the engagement, and then now paid ads is not so risky. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Fantastic. Angie, Anthony, Evie, Jose, Colin, Mackenzie, Michelle, welcome Michelle, NK, Suzanne, any questions? Any questions? We still have about an hour to go. So what I'll take a couple of questions, and any questions that you have, and then we'll talk about what to expect next, right? We're going to talk about what to expect next, and next week we have a lineup, right, of great training. I'm sure you'll definitely love it. It'll definitely address some of the things that we notice people have questions on. I'll briefly just go over what to expect next week, and then after that I'll talk about One Funnel Away challenge and give you more details and address any questions. Angie says no, thank you. So does anyone have any questions? And feel free. This is a safe space. There's no judgment. There's no there's There's no judgment at all. Ask any
Yeah,
questions.
Lee, I guess just to chime in on that. So to clarify, I'm creating my initial business page, not necessarily around my brand, but doing some more research that would connect back to obviously the core beliefs or things that I'm selling from my brand and my course, because I'm a coach, a faith-based kingdom entrepreneur. And
Right.
then from that business page, I'm getting, extra organic traffic. Awesome. Amazing. And then creating like a group outside of that as well, and inviting individuals into that group.
Right.
That is unpaid. There's no steps or anything needed to be taken potentially to get into that group, correct?
Right. You can do that, yeah. And a lot of times, what ends up happening, even if you follow like Rachel, you'll notice that if you do that, you've built so much goodwill, right? That within the group, I've seen typically what people do, they'll promote high ticket offers, 5,000, 10,000, because the goodwill that you've created. Imagine someone came to your personal profile, they followed you on your business page, right? And then they came to the group and you've just been giving them really useful information and demonstrations to the point where you've tipped the scales, right? You've tipped the scales in terms of value. Then now reciprocity is a no-brainer. It's more of an effect than a cause. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And essentially the business page and the group subject, they're obviously going to be aligned in a decent way or some sort of way, but again, not pressing back on the business side of things, really.
Yeah. So a lot of times, usually, what ends up happening is, and with business pages are usually a little bit broader, right? A little bit broader, addressing, let's say, Renata, who was talking about weight loss. So weight loss is more broader, and that would be great for a business page. Let's say specific, maybe weight loss for corporate women. So that would be a great name for like a business page. But then now you notice, like she said, there's some people who are interested in biceps. So guess what? A great group would be to congregate people around how to firm your biceps for corporate women, and then invite people. Hey, I've created this group, and we're doing a quick challenge. And it could be paid, it could be free. Most of the times, that could be a great precursor, especially if you have a product on the back end. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Fantastic. All right. Any other question? Any other question? Anthony, there you go. Anthony had a question, and then I'll come to you, Renata. And Michelle. So Anthony, go ahead. You have the mic.
Hi, Lee. I was wondering if you could look at my funnel and critique it.
Yeah, sure. What is so first of all, before we even look at the funnel, who are you targeting? What problem are you solving?
Cookbook lovers and people who love recipes.
Right. So cookbook lovers, and they love recipes. So cookbook and recipes. What okay, what obstacle are they faced with?
Well, unfortunately, the publisher priced the book so far out of the market that it didn't sell well.
Right.
And then I redid it myself and put a new cover on it, and
Right.
I'm calling that my ebook. And then
Right.
I still have the physical book, but I'm wondering if I should put both books in my funnel as an upsell, the print book and the ebook version as an upsell. But I haven't done that in the funnel as an upsell, but I've just done a funnel with it.
Yeah,
And
so we're only focusing on the lead magnet within this challenge. As far as upsells and anything sell, we'll be doing that in the One Funnel Away challenge. But for now, like is this supposed to be a lead magnet? Like, is this how you want to gather leads?
yes,
Okay. So what is the lead magnet that you're giving away?
the
Is
free
it the book,
ebook.
the free ebook? Um, so ebook is pretty broad, right? And let's dive into the ebook. Is this just recipes, like, or what is the context of this ebook?
The sub the title of the book is What's Cooking, and the subtitle is Recipes from America's Greatest Dietitians and Chefs.
Okay, so what I would do, because remember the ebook is probably a bit too broad, right?
Right.
Right? It's too broad, and you're also killing momentum rather than creating it. And this is what I mean by killing momentum rather than creating it. Once they get the ebook, now they need to find the time to read this ebook, right? And that means they won't be ready to buy anything from you, right? Or even invest in anything else because they really need to consume the ebook. So it's actually starting the momentum. So what you want to do in the beginning is maybe even take out what is the chapter that will resonate to this avatar, right? What is the one recipe that you can give away to this avatar, something that they're absolutely looking for, and that will be almost like the appetizer. It's almost like a pun. The appetizer, and then you can now on the back end sell the ebook.
Okay, so in other words, I'm putting up the page of the recipe that gives them that.
Right. Because the key thing is if you give them the ebook on the front end, remember this is someone who's cold, meaning they don't know who you are. They probably haven't interacted with you because we're building this lead magnet to address a cold market. For them, when they get an ebook, now they have to find the time. They have to go through the ebook, right? And that doesn't give them the momentum. But imagine if you gave them an appetizer, meaning like one recipe. The one recipe that will literally help you start creating foods that like never before. Like you pick the recipe that resonates the most, and make sure it's relevant to this avatar, to this dream customer. So they love recipes, they love cooking. What is missing? Right? If you could frame it as there's something missing in their routine, and if they don't sign up, they won't get this missing ingredient, or the thing that makes your burgers taste way better, the one recipe, and why this secret ingredient. Like, add some level of curiosity and some level of there's something missing. If you're a cook and you've been trying to make burgers and your burgers are not coming out as flawless as you would like to, then I have this recipe that will instantly convert you into a Five Guys chef, even though you've never been to Five Guys. You see what I mean? Something like that. I'm just making up an example. But you want to give them at least something that they can quickly, because what are great lead magnets? Great lead magnets have these characteristics. Number one, they create momentum, meaning this person doesn't have to find the time to consume your lead magnet. If they have to say, I have to find, like, I don't know when I'll find the time, that means it feels like what? Work. That kills momentum. Second, it has to be specific. Because if it's specific enough, they feel like, wow, this is the thing that I really need to the right person, right? 3, it has to be easily consumable, meaning they could literally just immediately, one sheet, one page, a 5-minute video, it's easy to consume them. Because once they consume this lead magnet, now they feel like they're in a state of, they feel they're in a state of momentum. They're energized because it's easy to consume, right? So I'd say those are the key 4 characteristics: specificity, momentum, and easily consumable. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense to me, and I understand it all in theory, but
Right.
I was wondering if you could pull up the funnel and actually look at it and use it to show me where this would be put into.
So could you put the link in the chat?
What do you mean?
Put the link of the funnel in the chat.
Oh, now how do I do that? Do I have to go to my funnel first?
So do you have your funnel?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I have the funnel, but I don't know how to bring it up for you to see it.
Okay, can you share it? How are you going to show it to me?
It's in my ClickFunnels account.
Yeah, is it open?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and promote you to panelist, and then you can share your screen, and then we can look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've promoted you to panelist. Make sure you accept, and then unmute, and then share your screen, and then we can look at it. Meanwhile, while you're doing,
which one do I click? Stay as attendee or join as panelist?
Join as panelist.
Okay.
Yeah. So meanwhile, while you're doing that, let me go ahead and take Michelle's question. Michelle, go ahead. You have the mic.
Hey, thanks so much. Okay, after just doing a tiny bit of looking around, I am doing a coaching program on overcoming adversity. Adversity is not really like a hot topic for groups, but so I'm writing a book. The book is Happy or Die. Learning how to be happy in the middle of adversity. So my question is, do I want to focus on the pain or do I want to focus on the results when I create a group? Because just from doing a quick little search there, I'm finding that like happy is a much more like attractive, just a more attractive magnet than like adversity or overcoming or resilience.
Yeah. I think a mix of the two. I would probably do a mix of the two and come up with a headline that's showing them the pain, especially if they're in the pain, and show them, because Facebook doesn't want doom and gloom. They notice that if you are a doom and gloom kind of person on Facebook, it dampens the mood of Facebook. So Facebook will probably show it to less people. So I would probably start with a mix, especially if there's some level, and people get it, people get it, like, there's going to be some pain in everything, right? But the key thing where people, I think, drop the ball is that they dwell on the pain and they don't show the trajectory of from pain to gain. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So I would definitely show the trajectory. If you're going to give it a name, if it's gloominess, because people also know, hey, it's not all just sunshine, right? But if because a mix of the two, there are people, and always, like in every market, there's going to be some people who are activated by pain, some people are activated by gain, right? But I think to purely just focus on pain or purely focus on gain, I think you're alienating a percentage of potential people who would show some interest. So I think having a mix, and in fact, most of the marketers will have have a mix, especially like, X to Y. You'll notice how to do X, and that's one of the titles that resonates so much, how to do X without Y, right?
I see.
Yeah.
So so much of what I focus on is just, there's probably seven life circumstances that I help people overcome in a positive and happy attitude. And do I get specific on those topics in my title, or do I just keep it generalized? Like, I guess I feel like I've always heard, if you don't have a niche, then you're not talking to anyone, right? Like, if you're not specific in who you're talking to, you're not talking to anybody. But there's such a wide range of
beneficiaries.
Yeah, that I don't know exactly who to target.
So the best way, I would say, pick the person who is in pain right now, right? where you don't need to do a lot of explanation, you don't need to do a lot of education, because that person is in pain right now. And for that person, the minute you show up, they'll immediately resonate with you, and they'll know that they're in a safe place. And sometimes the way you find out who that person is to reflect back on when you were going through that pain, and write down like all the characteristics of your demographics. I mean, of course, you already know your demographic, but go through, hey, this as much description. What were you doing? What were you experiencing? What was your identity then? Right? What were you like? The more you can go deep into the psyche of who you are at that time, the better you'll be able to attract that person.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I remember, I think we talked the last time, you were talking about the book you were writing, and the things that you had to overcome, right? Yeah. So I would say just reflect back on when you were going through that moment, right? Like put yourself in that moment, because that person exists, right? That person exists in the community. But the way you attract that person is you have to go back and reflect to all the pieces of identity and even the story that person was telling themselves. And the more you can articulate that state, the right person will show up. The exact person will show up. And this is how powerful this exercise is, right? Like, I'll give you a resource that you could definitely use. I think it's called, it's by HubSpot Avatar. Let me see. There you go. So this is a great tool that you can definitely use. Yeah, there we go. I think this is it. Yeah, so this is a great tool. It's by HubSpot. It's a free tool. It's called My Persona. Make My Persona, right? So what you do is you go in and you build your persona. It's, you build the persona. What is the name of your persona? Then you go in. It asks you all these details. How old are they, right? Demographics, education, right? What do they do, right, for a living? What is their job title? Who do they report to? Like, go into as much detail as possible. And by the time you're done with this exercise, you will have a deep understanding of who that person is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do have a deep understanding of that. I've done these things, but I guess I have a hard time. I just get stuck on if I want to focus on where I want to take them versus where they are.
Right.
And I mean, just anyway, I mean, like,
what do you think? What do you think is the holdup?
Well, I look up all of these things that I've gone through, like groups and things like that, and like adversity and overcoming and like all of these heavy words, and there's not traction on these heavy words. And so yet, like, if I were to, so I think the holdup is like, if I were to focus on just happy, then I'm going to miss the boat on the people who are in a state of complete wreckage, because people who are in that state of wreckage, they don't identify with being happy. They don't know how to get to that point. They don't, like, being around happy people is overwhelming because it makes them realize how miserable they are. Right. And so if I were to only focus on like the happy side of things, then I completely miss the boat, because the only way you can like help somebody out of that wreckage is by going into the wreckage with them and pulling them up, right? Like,
correct.
They're not going to be attracted to a happy page when they are that miserable, because when you're that miserable, seeing happy people just kind of pisses you off. And so I don't know how to like, I just feel like there's not traction on the people in like the downside, yet they're not going to be they're not going to be attracted to just a happy page. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I get it. I think the key thing is I think you're trying to do two things: connect and get traction at the same time, right? So I think the most important thing is to focus first of all on the connection part. As far as the traction, that will take care of itself, because you'll start putting out messages that will attract that person, even if it's one, even if it's two. But the way you'll start getting the traction is after you put out information, or you attract that one individual who is really you've tapped into the exact sentiment that they're going through. Does that make sense?
yeah, making a group just right around the name of my book of Happy or Die. I mean, I know we're not supposed to do that brand, like the branding side of it, but it does speak to the person, I think, specifically to where I was at, where it was like, I'm going to figure out how to be happy again, or else I'm going to die. Like, would that be appropriate? I mean, I don't know if that's probably not being searched, but
yeah, I think describe as much as possible. Like if you were to put, like, what were you Googling at the time, right? What keywords were you resonating with, right? What was the story that was going through your mind at the time, right? And then try and use as many of those things, because like I said, the first thing is connecting with that person, even if it's just one, right? Before you get the traction, you have to get the connection. And once you have the connection, the traction is it's a byproduct of the connection, right? Mm-hmm. So try and get as specific as possible. And sometimes, like I said, these tools may not help, but you know what you were going through, and you know what you were searching for. And if you were in that state, there's people who are in that state as we speak, right? And they're looking for your assistance. And the faster you can put this out, the faster you get to help them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, so Anthony put it out. So this is it. Anthony, let me go ahead and unmute. This is your click. The best is just to share your ClickFunnels. Just share your page, because this is the internal. It's the internal. Actually, let me show you how you can do it. Right. If you want to share it, you can go into your ClickFunnels. You're probably sharing the link, but the way you want to share that actual funnel is within ClickFunnels. Let's say this is the squeeze page. Share the very first page, right? This link here, that's the one you would share. I think what you're sharing is the app link, and that's that's not internal. Yeah.
Okay.
So share the very first page of the funnel.
Okay. Let's see.
Or if you want to share your face, you can share. I got you as a panelist, so if it's faster for you to share your screen, you can do that too. I can stop sharing, and then you can share your screen. And yeah, the HubSpot is one page, and then also with Jim Edwards, if you go to Funnel Scripts, there's also that avatar exercise that you can do, right? So those are two places. But yeah, Michelle, I think the best bet is try connect as much as possible to what you were experiencing, and then once you connect with that person, the traction will be a byproduct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. While we're waiting on Anthony, I'm sorry, not Andrew, Anthony. Does anyone have any questions? Wade, Angie?
Yes,
Evie?
Lee, I have a question. I made a mistake at first when I set up this funnel, and I choose the option to sell something, but really I can figure out now that I needed to choose to make a list. How can I fix that?
How to make a list?
Yes, the first option, how to generate a list.
Oh yeah, so you mean that you have just go, the fastest way is just go to your download the template. from day 3.
But I mean, when I start in the funnel, I choose the option to sell instead of how to generate a leads or build the list. How can I fix that? So.
Yeah, so I'm not understanding your question. Like you can
in the funnel, I mean, in ClickFunnels, in the first funnel, to set up the funnel,
right?
But in ClickFunnels, the platform.
Okay, I see. So you wouldn't even need that, right? Because we actually give you the template. So the best way to do it is go to day 3, right? Go to day 3, open the one pager as I'm doing, and then click on any one of those templates. Because we provide you the templates. You don't even need to create. Or just click on any one of these templates. Let's say it's template number 1. Click on it. And that template will be added to your ClickFunnels account, right? And then once it's added to your ClickFunnels account, now you can go in and create your lead magnet. Does that make sense?
Okay. But at first, I see an option that I chose other thing about to sell, but really I want to choose to make the list, to build the list. That's why.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, but I understand. Okay. But you're not really building the funnel. I know what you're saying. You're talking about this part here, right?
Yeah.
Where this pop-up comes in and you said you didn't select.
Oh, okay. Emails. I choose the second one.
Yeah,
I need to choose the first one. How can I fix that?
Yeah, just cancel. You just select it. So you picked sell your product. So you can definitely click on go back. You see that? And then
okay, something I can do again in
go back. Yeah, you just click on go back. So if you selected sell your product, but you want to do collect emails. There's a just at the bottom there's a button that says go back.
Okay, see, because I am starting from scratch, so I have not any business yet.
Yeah, so I wouldn't start. I mean, if you want to do it from scratch, that's well and good, but that's more work, right? That's why we give you the templates. Right.
Okay. No, I mean regarding the business. I have no business yet. Yes. I will build the business learning all this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Oli. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. Did Anthony? I think he put it in. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is Anthony. It's not a lead magnet. This is more. It's a sales magnet, right? This is for selling. Because there's part 1, which is people put in their information, and part 2 they put you we don't cover sales until the One Funnel Away challenge. But if you're going to use the lead magnet, it's typically what's the one thing, all the things we covered, and then you can go into it. Does that make sense, Anthony?
Yeah, but I'm not going to be able to go to One Funnel Away.
Yeah, so what you can do is just use a lead magnet. We don't really cover, you're asking me to answer a question that's outside of the scope of this challenge, right?
No, I'm asking you to critique what I've done so far.
Yeah, and this is a sales, it's a sale, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not a lead magnet, this is a sales funnel. I'm not covering sales in this challenge, it's outside the scope of this challenge. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can't do that, Auntie. It's not fair. I have to cover what is within this challenge. If you want to come over the One Funnel Away challenge, I'll be more than happy to look at your sales funnel, right? But for this challenge, Anthony,
what good did it do me to join then?
I don't know. We talked about the key thing about this was to cover your first lead magnet. Does that make sense?
I'm a platinum member, so I would think that it's all encompassing.
Yeah, there's definitely avenues for that. We have very specific programs for specific type of questions. This program here is only addressing lead magnets. That's why it's called Your First Funnel Challenge, which is your first lead magnet.
Exactly. So it's my first funnel. So that's why I'm asking you to look at my first funnel.
Yeah, Anthony, I'm not going to do that. All right.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, so yeah, and I did give you feedback as far as your lead magnet, so I'm not going to address that, Anthony. That's totally fine. All right. So, does anyone have any questions? And
I do.
yeah, go ahead.
It's just on what you just explained about the lead and the sales. I'm just trying to visualize the whole picture what you just described. So basically, right now we are building funnels, and these funnels are on the interest of catching leads for our list. So that's this coaching. I just got curious with what you were explaining. So where would this, sorry, I'm thinking as I say it, but where would the sale go at the end of the same funnel? No, because we would create a different funnel that we then send to our list with the sales, right?
Correct. So the whole purpose, so the first thing is we're creating this trajectory, right? There's this, it's literally a journey. So we start with, we're taking them from their hell state and we're trying to get them to their heaven state. So the very first thing is we're going to start with the lead magnet. And the reason why we start with this lead magnet is because we want to do what? We want to start collecting leads, right? And that's all we're focusing on in this challenge, right? It's how to create your first lead magnet funnel. And then from there, the next step that we're going to address is your first sales funnel, right? And the reason why we want to start with your lead magnet is because we want to warm up. You know, like I said earlier, the biggest challenge, that the biggest mistake people do is that they want to take someone directly to sales when they haven't really warmed them up, right? And so you notice that, hey, when we talked about day one, we talked about getting your dream customer. And then after we talked about getting your dream customer, the next thing we talked about is creating the actual funnel. Exactly. And then you remember we also did the follow-up, right? We did the follow-up emails. So at the end of those follow-up emails is where you're literally going to do what? You're literally going to go ahead and actually now make something, you offer something for sale. And at that time, you'll be having a sales funnel. Does that make sense?
Yes, and in which practically it is the same tool. So if we go to the ClickFunnels app, and then we have that page with a squeeze or landing page, and then we have the thank you. Is the funnel builder. So basically that is the same thing, but it would be more pages and it would be directing to the sale instead of to the lead magnet or whatever. But that is the same process, right?
Yeah, it's the same process. But typically what we'll do is we'll create a separate funnel. And yeah, some people, I've seen some people where instead of having a thank you page, they'll link that thank you page directly to their sales funnel. And it's totally fine. It works pretty well, right? But what happens is that typically what we'll do is we'll, and you can do that depending on the type of dream customer that you're targeting, right? But what we'll typically do is that we will have the lead magnet funnel, which is specifically just to get leads. And then on the back end, so that they can also consume the emails. Remember the follow-up emails we covered on day 4, the 6 emails. And then after day 6, right, at the end of day 6, we now lead them into the sales page, another funnel called the sales funnel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just double checking, because I literally from yesterday to today I am on fire. It's so much information. I'm so excited, and I already designed a bunch of things to implement my business, and this is exactly what I did. So mentioned, I just wanted to double check if I was following the right process here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a derivative question from this. So back to the exercise that we've done someday, which was just the 2 pages. So we have the squeeze, and then we have the thank you.
Correct.
It's just a simple question. Okay, I'm giving them a whatever lead magnet that I'm giving. And I am following I think it was you, I don't remember who, and I liked the advice of not sharing the gift or the free whatever.
On the thank you page, yeah, exactly.
I totally agree with send afterwards on an email. And my
Right.
question is, can I receive, I assume that I can set up the system to do that for me, right? When somebody clicks on my squeeze page and then it goes to the thank you page. Sorry, I didn't finish this exercise. I'm sure the answer is there. But then it triggers to send the file by email, over email automatically, right?
Right, right. So what you'll do is, yes, I believe it was day 4 where they talked about integrations, right? So you can integrate so that when the minute someone actually gives you their name and email, so under settings, this is where you'll do integrations, right? You'll click on integrations and then you'll select whether it's email or whatever, whether if you're using ClickFunnels internal Actionetics, then you can go in and add them to a list, right? And then by adding them to this list, let's say it's 4-day opt-ins, that's the name of the list I want them added, you would have like emails set up within that like automation, we call it automation, within that email, right, which will be triggered every time someone joins the list. So those emails will start going out automatically. Does that make sense?
Yes, because then I would set up my list to send an automatic email with the attachment.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Yeah, that's the way you would do it.
If I have I have leads coming from different places, so when I have different I'm thinking I'm gonna have different lists. Is it possible to select a couple of lists to add him, or can I only select one?
Yeah, so you can only select one, but what you can do is with the automation. Remember, with the automation, you can select several lists, right? At the point of where the automation is going out, you can go in and let me show you what I mean. So within the automation,
the automation I sent to my everyone plus this list.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. You can add several lists to the automation, but as far as which automation, like at the setup point, you can only pick one list.
Okay, because you see what I mean, right? Like
right.
Particular lead, he needs to receive this attachment, but then he needs to go to a list that is my full list. So
right.
I see what you mean. On my full list, I'm gonna add subgroups that are like this attachment, that attachment. All right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's how you can do it. You can for any automation, you can select multiple lists that you want people to start getting, emails, but as far as at the time of selecting which automation do you want this specific person to be to trigger, like which list they can be added, you can only add them to one list, right?
Okay, can I use your last question, I promise?
Yeah, no problem, go ahead.
Because I like the way I'm designing, and I want to know if I can do that on the tool. The way I'm designing, I'd like to provide them a couple of options so that they choose which one they want as their gift. So literally, when we spoke on this day, and I made you a question about the domain, I did that. It's working. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
My lead magnet is freegifts.mydomain, blah blah blah. But anyway, and when they sign into that, when they click on that, I actually want to provide with like four options, like which one do you want? If it was just one option, we would do this that we are describing. So it would go to the list, and then it would send them an email with the attachment. Now, is it possible? And I don't think it is. I don't know. Is it possible on the first page? Oh, it is, because then, oh yeah, I answered my own question. See if that's right. See if that's right. On the first page, I create links, and I'm actually gonna have additional pages before the thank you. So basically, I'm gonna say on the first page, which one of this ebooks, whatever do you want? You want A, B, C, or D? And then if you say A, they're gonna go to thank you -A, which is gonna add them to the list A. Right. And if they say B, instead of sending them to the same thank you page, it would be a link to a different thank you page. Is it possible?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that, and that's what we call collectively. We have a name for that. It's called a survey funnel, right? And a survey funnel. We don't cover it here, but literally, it's just when someone comes in. Let's say you have multiple options, and you want them to self-identify.
Yeah.
You literally have like a survey, like, hey, you know, or you have options, which of these do you identify, right? So let's say that's the question. One, two, three, four. Or you have them answer a couple of questions, and then from there, now based on their answers, you can say, okay, rather than based on their answers, if they pick one, you take them to the thank you page of one. If they pick two, you take them to the thank you page of two.
Oh,
So you can absolutely do that. It's definitely going to be a little bit more work intense,
yeah,
right?
no.
Because now, you have to create all those pages for all those options, right?
But then,
But
but then also I have segmented, because you just gave me a
right,
great idea. But by them choosing, is not only sending them a different attachment. When they choose A, B, C, or D, I already know which segment they want to be on.
right,
So this can also lead for my following sales. So
right.
that's amazing. I just want to say this whole coaching is being like, it's 5 days, and I'm amazed with the tool, because this is all new for me in terms, as in is new as in a tool, but
Right.
I have had all of this designed in my head for forever, and just seeing a tool that is it's gonna, I mean, I don't care about the hard work,
Right.
just seeing that it's possible for me to create what I have in my mind in a
Right.
single tool. It's I'm very happy with the coaching. Just wanted to say thank you for everything you're sharing.
No, thank you very much, Renata. Thank you very much. You're most welcome. Yeah, thank you very much, Jose. Great insights, fantastic. Michelle, you had a question?
Just real quick, one last question. And I wanted to just say too that I feel like I've been drinking from a fire hose. There's been so much valuable information. I can hardly
Thank
consume
you.
it fast
Thank
enough.
you. And by the way, you'll have the replay, so you could definitely go back and watch the replay. So not to worry if something wasn't clear. No worries. You can always definitely go back and watch the replays.
Yeah, it's super valuable. So my last question is, I've really always been attracted to like trauma transformation, because I feel like it speaks to the difficulty as well as the outcome. My husband has told me that it would be a sticky place to speak about trauma because I'm not a certified therapist.
Right.
What are your thoughts about some of those kind of, I mean, am I facing lawsuits if I incorporate something like trauma? I'm not claiming to be a clinical therapist.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
That's a really, really good question. So here's the thing. This is what I would say, right? As long as you're speaking from your experience, right? No one can sue you from you speaking from your experience and how you got out of that situation. Sometimes actually you may even have a better solution than a lot of the people who actually have the certification, right? But because of the market and because of litigation, speak from your experience. Like, this is what I did, this is what I encountered, this is how I actually maneuvered out of this situation, right? Where it could be sticky is where you're telling people to go and do this, right? And to go and do this, or you're taking the role of a therapist, right? And then they go and either implement, and they get worse, and then that opens you up for litigation. But as far as how you coped with it, that is your truth. No one can ever sue you for your truth. Right? So speak it from your truth. Storytelling is great. Speak it from your truth. No one is ever going to sue you for that. And no one can ever take your truth away from you. So that's what I would do. Convert your experiences into stories where you're sharing your experience. And of course, the privacy policy where you do share that, hey, that's your experience and you're not liable. You're not liable. It's not supposed to replace. It's not supposed to replace professional help. But you're only going to speak your truth. So that definitely covers you. And then the second thing is, you don't like what you do. I think sometimes we're also faced with this imposter syndrome. Don't allow that imposter syndrome. You have something valuable that people will benefit from because of your experience. Don't let that stop you from sharing your story.
So you think using the word trauma would be okay?
Yeah, if it's what you experience and that's exactly what you went through, perfectly fine. The only time is when it comes to now prescribing. When you're prescribing, you're giving someone a prescription, whether it's, a clinical prescription, that's where the challenge, that's where it could get a little sticky, But as far as like speaking about your experience and what you did, the trauma that you had to overcome, I think it's totally fine. People do it. There's people who have programs and they're not even certified. So you don't really need the certification if you're only sharing your experience and how you overcame the experiences and the trauma that you experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I just wonder then what a lead magnet would be for, like, I guess I just think that is what I do, is I help people transform their trauma and take it from a place of pain to a place of gain, like we were talking.
Right.
And so
I think,
how do I do that without getting sued?
Yeah, so the way you do it, you say how I convert it into a story, right? That's how you convert that claim. Because if you say how I change, if you say I'll help you transform, you're making a claim, right? And now that claim can be held. You could be held liable if someone doesn't get that exact same result. But no one can ever counter you on how I was able to overcome my trauma using XYZ. Does that make sense?
I see. So I just speak it basically in first person instead of
from your experience, exactly.
And then
right. Yeah, no one can sue you for that. Yeah.
I speak to the tools that I used, and
Fantastic.
then it's up to their own discretion if they want to implement them in their own life.
Exactly. And that's the best way. And people connect with you, right? Because now, and first of all, it gives you credibility, because you're not just blanket saying, making statements or claims. You're talking about what your truth is, right? No one can take that away from you. And that gives you credibility, especially in a market where everyone is just making claims. Most of them probably, if some litigation was, they will probably get sued, right? Maybe it's just a matter of time, right? So to avoid all of that, to cut through all of that, just simply say how I was able to overcome this.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yay! Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. All right, so we still have about 10 more minutes. Let's see. Let me just go ahead and just go through and make sure everyone is okay. And actually, let me use those 10 minutes to actually go over like what to expect next week within the program, right? So next week we're going to be there's still, so even though it's the end of the challenge, like the live training, right, next week we're still going to be covering a couple of things, right? We're going to have bonus training. And what we're going to cover in the bonus training is, first of all, on Monday we're going to be talking about creating a Facebook group, right? On Tuesday we're going to be talking about benchmark statistics, like what should you expect, right? What should you expect when you actually launch your funnel? How do you know if your funnel is actually doing great, right? Benchmark statistics of your lead magnet, right? Day number 3 next week, which is Wednesday, we're going to be talking about funnel audibles. And funnel audibles is before you get to launch your lead magnet, right? Your lead magnet funnel. What are some of the things you really want to look at, right? What are some of the things you should look at, on the first page, on the second page? What are some of the things you should completely pay attention to, right? And then on Thursday, we're going to be covering e-com funnels. So some people are running e-commerce funnels, right? Lead magnets, where they're giving away something for free, which is, and they're shipping. So we'll be covering e-com. If you're in physical products, we'll talk about that. And then on Friday, we're going to be talking about MLM funnels. And MLM is, hey, you're in network marketing, or you're an affiliate, you're trying to sell something, you don't have the product. How do you actually still collect the lead and then get someone else to do the fulfillment? So that's what we're going to cover next week. And then in addition to that, we have what is called the One Funnel Away Challenge, right? And the One Funnel Away Challenge is where we really get to focus on your first product that's for sale. So right now, this challenge, we're focusing primarily on you getting the lead, building the relationship, as I mentioned, you remember earlier I talked about, hey, most people, you have that cousin or that uncle who, or that friend who the only time they reach out to you is when they want something, right? And you immediately ask yourself, I wonder what they want this time, right? Because there's no context. They haven't built the relationship. They just want to get something from you, right? We already know that definitely leaves a bad taste, right? So the next challenge is going to start on 2 weeks from now. We just had one start this Monday. So the next one is going to start not next week, not this Monday. I think Wade had asked that question. Not this Monday, the very next one, right? So we have these rotating every 2 weeks, right? The One Funnel Away Challenge, this is where we literally go in and we really dive deep into, hey, what's your first product? Who should you be targeting? What should you say, right? We'll go through, it's really in depth. We'll also be talking about paid advertising. So we really go deep into it, and that's what the next challenge is specifically for. For this challenge, we're only focusing on the squeeze page. So Wade, do you have your squeeze page? If you can share, I'll be happy to look at it.
I can share. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me promote you again to panelists, and you can go ahead and share your lead magnet. Make sure you unmute. There you go. And let me stop sharing, then you should have the floor.
Unmute.
There you go. I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. And let's see. I don't know what page you might be. Oh, okay. And we'll share my screen.
There you go. It's up.
Here we are.
Awesome. Fantastic. So I love the colors. The tools any single woman needs to build a lifelong romantic relation, avoid a life of loneliness. All right. So free inside. This is fantastic. It's great. I love I love the presentation. One thing, who is it for? A romantic, any single woman.
My client is a professional single woman, typically aged 25 to 50, generally more to 30 to 55 actually, and she has experienced a tremendous challenge in trying to find a partner. And so generally she's at a roadblock. She's like, she's tried everything she can. She can't figure it out. And that's my client.
Okay, fantastic. So I would test this. I would definitely keep this as a control, meaning I would definitely keep this the way it is, right? And then I would do a variation. Remember, within ClickFunnels, you can definitely just create a variation and test the headline, right? I would start with build a lifelong romantic relationship.
Okay.
And that would be the start. Build, because that's what they really want, right?
Right.
And avoid a loneliness. Build a lifelong romantic relation, avoid a life of loneliness, even if you believe all good men are gone. Right?
Okay.
And then, so that I would definitely test, because the tools also sounds like work, right? And then it's not specific enough, right? But I think you've nailed down the desire, right?
Yeah.
So that would be one variation I would test, and then I would definitely test, and rather than the tools, give them one tool.
Yeah, there's only one tool that they receive as a there's only one tool as they receive as a free as a lead magnet.
Right, fantastic. Just call it one tool.
So you're saying take the S off the tools.
Yeah, the one tool.
Okay, the one
because
tool.
most of the times when we want to fix a problem, we don't want tools, we just want the one tool.
Got it. They actually need more than one tool to be successful.
Yeah, they probably need more than, but
right.
Give them the first tool, or the first tool. You could call it the first tool.
Okay, I like that.
The first tool or the one tool. I'll probably the first tool. that way you're not, you're not, you're they know that, hey, it's probably going to be more than one tool in the future, but what's the first tool that will get me will get me to that one thing that I want, right?
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and then the thing of a lifelong romantic relationship, right? I would probably get like, so map out the journey. So that sounds like the ultimate result, the big thing that they want, right? If you were to break down that big thing that they want, which is the romantic relationship, there's probably smaller things that they want, core results, as Russell calls them, right? What would be the core result that they want? And what were all these, if you were to break down this, maybe they first of all need to start vetting potential partners. Next one is, hey, how to have a great conversation, how to behave on a date, where to find these dates. So you notice all these are core results that actually leads to the big ultimate result of a lifelong romantic relationship. Because for someone who's probably in this situation, life, as you mentioned, they probably already come to terms that this life, that's the big goal. It's out there. But if you promise that as a lead magnet, it feels like it's too big a goal to be achieved in just one lead magnet. You see what I mean?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So,
yeah.
The first issue they have is just finding quality candidates.
There you go, vetting. Yeah, the one tool that you can use to vet a quality candidate, even if you believe all good men are gone.
Okay. I used the video to share my who, what, why, how script.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the first thing I would do is just start with, hey, get really specific. What's the one thing? Because now if you promise this huge goal, right? This big thing, it's not believable, especially for a lead magnet. Remember, the lead magnet is just to get them to raise their hand, and if it's not specific enough, no one's raising their hand because they feel like it's unachievable. But when you start with the core thing, you're taking them on a journey. Remember, it's a journey, right? It's not one sitting, it's a journey. If you look at it as a journey, you start with the first thing, right? What's the first thing you're going to give them? And I think if you nail that, if you take care of that, you'll have no problem getting leads. Does that make sense?
It does. I got to put some work into this title.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. Okay.
Yeah, right, fantastic. Great. Yeah, but other than that, it looks great.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, sir. So, all right. So, thank you very much. Michelle says it looks good. Wade, where did you build your funnel squeeze page? Is this a one-pager? No, it looks like a funnel.
Totally did it in ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels. Fantastic. All right. So, let's see. I'll go ahead. I think we're out of time. First of all, thank you very much, everyone that attended today's session. Hopefully, you found lots of value from what we covered. Remember, again, it's not the end of the challenge. Next week, we do have bonus training, right? We have lots of bonus training. Monday, we're talking about benchmark. No, actually, from Monday, we're going to be talking about creating your Facebook page. Tuesday, benchmark statistics, what to look out for, what numbers to expect. Wednesday, we're talking about funnel audibles so that you can absolutely know exactly what to look out for before you get to launch. Thursday, we're going to be talking about e-com, right? For those people who have physical products, how do you still get the lead even though you're selling physical products, right? And then finally on Friday, right, we're going to be talking about affiliates. If you're not even the one who has a product, you're thinking about promoting someone else's product, how do you build that funnel, right? So thank you very much, everyone. And then remember, if you want to continue with the journey, we definitely have the One Funnel Away Challenge that's coming up. You still have time. We started one this Monday. They're on a rotational basis every 2 weeks. We go really deep. If you're going to sell anything, I would highly recommend you come into the One Funnel Away Challenge. That's where all things sales are covered in that challenge, right? So thank you very much, everyone. It's definitely been a pleasure. And if you enjoyed today's session, hey, let people know. Let someone know, right? Go ahead and Go to bit.ly bit.ly/feedback for Lee. bit.ly/feedback for Lee. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you and talking with you, and I wish you all the best. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Lee.
Take care. Thank you.